Have you ever had the feeling that everything you built could fall apart overnight? Have you ever faced moments when every effort seemed to produce absolutely nothing? What if, in your emptiest moment, the most important opportunity of your life appeared, but disguised in a simple request? Today, we travel to the silent shores of Lake Gennesaret, where a simple morning of frustration turned into the beginning of a revolution. A story that, even today, continues to call ordinary people to experience the extraordinary. The drama of a fruitless night. Pedro knew what it was like to fight against the tide. Since he was young, he had learned the art of fishing, knowledge of the waters, the resistance of his body, the patience of waiting. Each shot of the net was filled with hope, but also uncertainty. That particular night, the cold bit the skin, the muscles ached, and the silence of the lake seemed to mock their efforts. The net, when pulled, came back empty, again and again. The colleagues, Tiago and Joao, shared the same frustration. What would they say to their families? How would you explain another day without fruit? In the end, it wasn't just a question of money. It was a question of dignity, on purpose. Every wash of the hammocks that morning was also an attempt to wash away the shame. The crowd, the master, and the empty boat. The noise of an approaching crowd broke them out of their monotony. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of people came from all directions to hear Jesus. It wasn't the first time they had heard of him. Whispers about healings, miracles, and words that set hearts on fire ran from mouth to mouth. But now he was there, not a distant report, but a real presence. Jesus, noticing that the crowd was pressing closer and closer to him, looked at the boats. He looked at Pedro. He didn't choose the prettiest boat, not the most successful. He chose the empty boat. He chose the boat of failure. Jesus always chooses what the world despises to reveal what the world cannot understand. The yes that opened the way. Even though he was exhausted, Pedro gave in. Even though he was discouraged, he pushed the boat. Even without understanding, he made available what little he had, an empty boat and tired hands. And it was in this act of small obedience that the greatest transformation began. As Jesus taught, Peter listened. Words of life, of hope, of something much bigger than fish and nets. What seemed like just another ordinary morning was, in fact, long in the making in God's eternal plans. The challenge: advancing into deep water. When the teaching ended, Jesus did something unexpected. He didn't just use Peter's boat. He now turned to Peter. Move into deeper waters and let down your nets for fishing. It was an order that defied the natural, an order that confronted logic, an order that required faith. Pedro, with sincerity, said, "Master, we worked hard all night and didn't catch anything." But he added the phrase that changes destinies. "But because you are the one saying so, I will let down the nets." Not because it made sense, not because I felt like it, but because he trusted whoever spoke. The nets breaking. When the blessing is greater than expectation, the impact was immediate. As soon as the nets touched the deep water, they began pulling in not fish, but an almost unbearable weight of abundance. The nets stretched, the boats threatened to capsize. It was so much that Pedro had to scream for help. What God plans for those who obey is not just enough. It's abundant. It's overwhelming. It's beyond anything they could ask for or imagine. That morning recorded an eternal lesson. God does not fill shallow nets. He blesses in the depth of trust. The encounter with one's own misery. Upon seeing the miracle before his eyes, Peter did not boast. He didn't think about the profits he could make. He did not see himself as a lucky man. He saw their misery. "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." A true encounter with God does not generate arrogance. It generates brokenness. Peter saw the holiness of Christ and, in the light of that glory, he saw the rottenness of his own heart. It was in this recognition, not of strength but of weakness, that he became fit for the calling. The call, from fisher of fish to fisher of men. Jesus did not reject Peter. He did not despise his confession. He didn't criticize his past. He looked inside Peter and saw not just what he was, but what he could become. Do not be afraid. From now on you will be a fisher of men. Peter, James, and John understood. That miracle was just a sample. The true calling was much greater, to leave everything and follow the Master. Leave the networks. Leave life predictable. Let go of fears. And they did. No guarantees. No contracts. No plan B. The deep symbolism of broken nets. Breaking nets are a powerful symbol. Human fragility in the face of divine greatness. Inability to contain God's blessing alone. Need for communion, mutual help, community to bear the weight of what God brings. Pedro couldn't handle everything alone. This is also the case in spiritual life. God's great movements are never the work of a single isolated person. Calls, but it also connects. He blesses, but teaches how to share. Application to modern life. Today, many wash their empty nets on the beach of their personal failures. They tried everything in their marriage. They worked hard at their jobs. They invested dreams in raising their children. They fought against internal vices. And even so, they feel the bitter taste of frustration. The message of this story is clear. Failure is not the end. It's the stage. Emptiness is not despair. It's the preparation. Jesus continues today entering the empty boats of tired lives and saying, move forward into deeper waters. Trust me. The decision is ours. Continue washing empty nets or cast it again, this time in his word. A decision that echoes in eternity. Peter replied, and because of that yes, multitudes were touched. Peoples and nations heard the gospel message. To this day, her story inspires men and women in all parts of the world. You can also be part of this story. It doesn't matter how many empty nights you've lived. It doesn't matter how many torn nets you have accumulated. If today you hear the Master's voice and trust him, not only will your networks fill up, but your life will never be the same. Thank you very much to everyone who has watched so far. May the same Jesus who transformed Peter's empty boat also transform your life, your dreams, and the purpose of your existence. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share so that more people can cast their nets in his name.